Sorry, there I was muted. Hi, how are you?
I'm well, Deepa. How are
I'm
you?
good. Good to see you.
You too. You look radiant.
Thank you. So do you. How's your foot healing?
Oh, good.
Okay, back to normal.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It
Okay.
actually, the tendon is like 10 times thicker. Like it's like instead of a thin band, it made it a
Okay.
really big.
Thick.
And I'm like, I guess my body is like the collagen. It just threw everything there and it's like, don't do that. I can't.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Make it
And
stronger than ever.
because I was already walking within 3 weeks.
Good.
And in a boot cast and all that. And I didn't do the surgery because now
Mhm.
they're under the mindset of let the body heal
Yeah.
instead of intruding and stuff. So I was thankful to hear that. And I remember even when I went into the ER and they were like, what's your pain level? I'm like, about an 8. She's like, okay, do you want Tylenol? I was like, no. She's like, you're not taking
Yep.
it? I was like, nope, I let my body and I meditate and breathe and go through the
Yep.
pain and I face the pain. And she was like,
They're like, what the hell's wrong with you?
what are you doing? Like, that's not normal. And I'm like, I know.
Exactly. Yeah. I broke my foot not too long before
Yeah.
you broke yours. And it wasn't as bad as yours, but yeah, it's just a matter of time, right? And patience and just allowing the body to do its thing, right?
Yeah.
Which
And
most
it
people just want to like go, go,
get,
go, right?
yeah. And I'm thankful for the lifestyle that I have that I'm able to slow
Yeah.
down. So I understand other people. There's a lot that they're having to navigate through. And I
Yep.
think the biggest thing was really engaging with the inner critic and, the nervous system and, your default of how you're going to relate with your body and
Yep.
really coming with a gentle, kind voice with it, especially when there was raging that you can't do this or you can't get there
Yep.
and you have to do this and this is an inconvenience and
Yep.
really using that practice of in the moment really engaging with that nervous system and that programming of wants to protect you, yet it's like, okay, it's okay, and take a breath and we can
Mm-hmm.
take our time and going into a more of a vertical, deeper level with that. And I think that is one of the biggest, I think, important things when speaking to people about the healing, how they're going to interact with themselves with that self-talk
Yep.
and to not be all stunned and be shaming themselves that they shouldn't be talking. It's like, I understand that it's your nervous system putting up defense mechanisms to help protect you because of the irritation and the emotions that you're having to process and
Mm-hmm.
navigate through. So I think that was a big part of my healing and really applying the practice.
Yeah. 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 And for me, it was like asking for help, right? Because I like to do things myself. I don't like to ask for help. And I had no choice. I had to ask for help.
Exactly. And
So
it's like, and then it's for me too, it's the help. It's like, and it's on their time, not yours,
yes.
Nat. So
Yeah, exactly. Their time and their way. So you can't be like, no, do things that way, do things that way. Right. And then for me, like it allowed me to, because sometimes like I've been wanting to like get a cleaning lady for so long, but I have this guilt that if I get a cleaning lady, like what's my mom gonna say? She's like, oh, you're so lazy. Like I do. She wouldn't even say that, but I just make up
yeah,
these stories that,
yeah,
oh, I do my cleaning myself. Why can't you do it? Right. And but after that incident, like I just didn't stop calling them. Like you guys can keep coming. So it just allowed
exactly.
me like the gave me the permission to continue with it. And my mom actually was like, oh yeah, I'm glad you're continuing with it because like, you get so busy and you don't really need to be doing that. So I was like, oh, okay, I should have done this a long time ago.
Exactly. And offload that, um, the responsibility. Yet if you're generating currency in one way, it's like, okay, well, I want to enjoy my life. So if I'm
Yeah.
able to supply an income for somebody else to do something, they may or may not like it, yet it's still about enjoying your life and also being able to supply
Yeah.
support and services to somebody else that I think sometimes we won't even look at that
Yeah.
aspect, that it's
Yeah.
helping somebody else by
Yeah.
employing them to do
Yeah.
the task that I don't particularly like doing.
Yes.
Other people, they're like, oh, I love it. I'm like, oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Takes a lot for me to get in that mood. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's, just free flowing, but a lot of times it's like, oh my gosh, this is a mundane task. Actually, you know what? I'll introduce you into the
Okay.
podcast because we're
Yeah.
getting into parts that
Yeah.
can be in the podcast.
Okay.
Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, Dipa. I am so thankful you're here with me.
Thank you so much for having me, Nat.
Let's go into a grounding meditation before we start it off. So I'll ask you to close your eyes and begin breathing in and out through your nose. And just focus on your breath going in and out and allowing yourself to drop into the body. And whatever sensations or feelings that may come up, just let them rise up into the body and continue just focusing on your breath. And I'm going to ask you to create an intention that you want to bring forth in this podcast, in this conversation together. I'll ask you to formulate it in your stomach, create it, and then release it and let it go up through your nervous system and up into the mind and open up and blossom. And still continue focusing on your breath and allowing that intention to blossom some more. And when you're ready, at your own time, your own pace, gently open your eyes. How's your heart doing?
Doing great. Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you for setting that stage. I think it really just calms the nerves down and just brings us into the present moment.
We met back in 2018 or 19, I believe, and we organized an event for Dr. Shefali. And at the time, I know that your husband had a company called Living Proof. And I believe that was around the time that you were going to pivot and join him in the company. Are you able to explain what Living Proof is and what you offer as a service and why you pivoted from your previous career into being an entrepreneur with your husband?
Yeah, so we think of Living Proof Institute really as a movement, and it's a movement to help people live their best lives. And we believe that they can only do that once they have their health. So it's really focused on getting to the root cause of chronic disease and symptoms. And really for some people, it's just about optimization so that they are living to their fullest potential. And, one of our taglines is the doctor of the future is the patient. So we really believe in empowering people to become their own.
Okay, well, we'll do this again.
Okay.
Please, universe. Okay. Yes. Can you allow technology in our communication and not have Dipa feel like she's having to do a test over 3 times over? Come on now.
We live in Ontario. It's not like we live across the world.
Exactly. We're in the most modern country there is. And why are we not having the Wi-Fi that we need? Internet, anyways, that's another conversation where Canada's going, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Living Proof Institute really is a movement, and our mission is really to empower people to be their own best doctor. So our tagline is the doctor of the future is the patient. And so my husband started the company in 2011. I joined him in about close to 2013. Okay. We were living in the US at the time. And then, we moved back to Canada for a little while. And at the time, prior to him opening the business, I was practicing as a traditional pharmacist. And so, shifting gears to functional medicine was really different because, a lot of people would think that it's completely opposite of what I used to do. I used to give people drugs and now I'm taking people off drugs. But, it's really about empowering people to just utilize the resources that they have and to know that there's a better way, right? And that when we get to the root cause and create health, then we're improving every aspect of our overall health and well-being.
How was the learning curve of going from, traditional pharmacy going into functional medicine? Did you find any difficulties, or was it intuitive? What I know to be true with my experience with medical system, they don't get to the root cause. It's just giving medications and, covering over symptoms where it's like, okay, but where are these symptoms coming from? Let's get to the root. So how was that experience from switching over?
Yeah. So basically, I guess, being married to my husband, who's a chiropractor, when I was working in traditional pharmacy, I was actually working at St. Mike's in the oncology department. So I was seeing a lot of sick people, pretty much end stage cancer. And that was the time that he was getting into functional medicine. And he would share a lot about what he was learning with me. And it really piqued my interest. And, it really made me question a lot of the things that I was taught, because I knew that there was a better way, right? When I worked in the hospital, seeing all these patients, no one really asked them about their lifestyle, right? What are they eating? How are they sleeping? What's their digestion like? How's their stress? What about their relationships, right? Nobody asked them these deeper questions. And so it really piqued my interest. And of course, I had just graduated from school shortly after. So I wasn't really thinking of pivoting or switching up careers. It wasn't until a few years later that I decided to shift gears and really believed in the mission and, the, I guess, business that my husband was trying to create. So I just felt that we would just be much stronger doing it together rather than me, working this pharmacy job, which, it might have paid great, but there was just this, there was a schism in terms of what my, changing beliefs were at the time and what I was doing from 9 to 5, which is a huge part of your day, right? So there was just this misalignment, and I just didn't feel authentic. And, part of switching was all the voices that come into your head, right? What's your family going to think? What are your parents going to think? They just invested all this money in your education, and now you're kind of leaving it behind, right? And I wouldn't say I left it completely behind. Like, my education still serves me. It actually helps me a lot with clients, because we see a lot of clients who are on multiple medications, and I'm able to guide them and have them connect with their doctor to help them get off medication, because ultimately I find that most people don't want to be on their medications, right? And if there's a better way to manage some of their symptoms or diseases, then they rather be off of them, right? So it actually works very well, right? It's not that contradictory. It actually is very complementary. And I think people really appreciate the knowledge that I have with that, the conventional side, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of have both sides.
Yeah, because it's a skill that's transferable, because you can see the flip side of it, and you can give the explanation of why the medication is there and what the body can actually function. And the big part is if the individual is willing to do the work.
Yes.
And that is the big part of functional medicine, is that you have to have a willingness to do the work of changing your lifestyle. And you're bang on, because even when I was, diagnosed with the lesions, and I still don't have a diagnosis of why they were there. And I was in the hospital for almost 40 days and going through biopsies, and you don't want to be in the medical system when they don't know what's wrong with you, because you were like Frankenstein and a guinea pig for a lot of things. And when I would ask, like, what about the nervous system? Oh, we can't patent that. What about food? Nutrition? Oh, that can't be patented. Here's medication. And it's like, yet, the nervous system and nutrition, they go coincide. And it's like, you're not even asking me about my lifestyle. You're not even asking me about any traumas that I had possibly. You're not even asking me, like, they'll ask, the simple things of smoking, or did you do recreational drugs or that, but you're not even asking, like, am I in an abusive relationship? Or, and those things are big factors, or how many jobs are you working? So all these different things that will deplete your health and deplete the energy that are not even being asked. And I do understand why cannot, because they're overloaded with patients.
Yes.
Quality cannot be there. You got 10, 15 minutes at the most to talk to somebody. So while you're really just intaking information, you're not listening, you're already trying to prescribe the medication for them for these symptoms to alleviate them and get them back online to be able to work and function in their lives.
Yeah.
And not really get to that root.
Yeah, it's the system is set up for acute care, right? If I broke my ankle, or we've both broken our feet, or different bones, then you want that system, right? You're not going to go to a functional medicine practitioner if you break your arm, right? No. It's set up for acute care, and I would say 90% of people that are showing up to the system are chronic case, right? They have chronic health conditions that the acute system is not really set up to, help them, right? Mm-hmm. It's set up to Band-Aid, like you said, patch them up and get them back to work, or get them just functioning at a minimum level, right? But when I worked in the pharmacy, because I've worked in, community pharmacy as well, and retail pharmacy, and patients would come in month after month or year after year, and they're not getting healthier, they're getting sicker. Right? They're getting put on more and more medication. They're taking a new medication to address the side effects that the previous one caused. And then they're taking another medication to address the side effects that second one caused. And it's just this rabbit hole that you go down. Right. And so, unfortunately, I think doctors have, great intentions. They went into the profession for great reasons, but the system really isn't set up for them to provide the level of care and time that patients really need, right? And to ask those deeper questions. Yeah. So, and it's very compartmentalized as well, right? It's like, I know I've seen signs at doctors' offices that if you have more than one issue that you want to discuss with your doctor, you have to make a separate appointment for each issue. And then, if something's going on with your heart, you got to go see the cardiologist. If something's going on with your joints, you got to go see the rheumatologist, right? That's not how our body works, right? No. It's one system. And, unfortunately, the system is just very compartmentalized and doesn't really look at the person as a whole.
Yeah. As I said, when I was in the hospital, I had 5 departments on me. I think it was nuclear medicine, endocrinology, neurology, and I forget the 2 other ones, but there was, and endocrinology would tell neurology, no, it's this part and that part, but they wouldn't communicate. And I was like, why are you guys not communicating? Like, my levels, you guys are telling me I should be in a coma. I shouldn't be functioning. You don't understand why my levels are like this and the way I'm presenting myself, but you guys aren't willing to talk to each other. You're like placing kind of the work on somebody else. No, that's not my work. That's their work. And it's like, how are you, like, my body's trying to communicate and you guys can't even communicate with each other. So how is this helping me? So I got to really see the experience in depth being in that and seeing like, oh, no wonder so many things are slipping through the cracks, because you guys aren't even able to create a system that you're communicating with each other and being able to share information. And it's like one person shows up, oh, okay, we'll wait for the next person. And it's like, this is a lot of like my body's already dysfunctioning and not communicating properly. Outside is not helping me neither. So it was for me to see that visual and have grace and empathy of not criticizing a system, having an understanding of where the broken parts are. Because there are some great parts of the medical system that we need. I just believe also too that there's not enough empowerment and education for people. And, even for me, I would love it that in grade school, you start asking children to ask, like when you're prescribed a medicine, ask them, well, where is it in my body that this is producing? Like if you're giving me antidepressants or if you're giving me puffers, like what is it that my body's not producing that I need to take this medicine, so that you get some understanding of your biology, that you, like you said, become that doctor and you start being that mad scientist to do your own research, not just rely on this medical system. and come with every little ailment, that you can start really being attuned with your body. Because my question is, it's not about how many people are on medication. I'm curious to know how many people are not on medication on the planet, especially in North America, and even given Advil and Tylenol. Like people think, oh, well, it's not a prescription. It's still medicine. And to think that you still need that to be able to tolerate living life, that you have to come home almost every second night or whatnot, and then not recognizing how that's impacting other parts of your stomach, your liver, and these systems that you need to work well, to function a long-term life that's sustainable and that is well-being, and that you have energy. Can you give us the definition of what health is for you?
I think health for me is about, it's not about, being pain-free or losing the weight or, having our digestive issues resolved. It's about what our health can do to help us live a life full of purpose, right? It's the vehicle that allows us to be a productive member of society, to have meaningful relationships, to live a full life. And we can only really live to that fullest potential when we have our health in order, right? So that for me is really what the definition of health is being able to live to our highest calling. That, when it comes to one of the things that we really emphasize is really covering the basics when it comes to health, right? Like sleep and digestion. Like there's so much you can do just from the comfort of your own home.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to cost thousands of dollars, right? Like sometimes people think being healthy has to be expensive. Well, there's things that you already do on a day-to-day basis. It's just how can you optimize it, right? Or how can you upgrade it? Yeah. So just really honing in on that aspect is that you don't need to buy 50,000 supplements or go spend hundreds and thousands of dollars. Just do the basics, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then if you're still not better, then dig deeper, right?
Hey, are you having difficulty being able to focus and be productive? Well, I may have a solution for you. And that solution is called Magic Mind. It has done a world of difference in my world. The brain fog's gone. I'm able to focus, procrastination's gone, and productivity is up. So for you, the listeners, for the next 10 days, I'm able to offer you 40% off your subscription. Yeah, 40% off. So please go to the website, www.magicmind.co/LIFT. That is www.magicmind.co/lift. And if you just want to try a sample, make sure to use my discount code to get 20% off, which is LIFT. You have no idea what you need until you try it. So give yourself the gift of trying.
For me, what I tell people what peace is homeostasis. Because when you're good in your body, you have peace, you have joy. You're not irritated with every little thing. And when challenges come, you're able to face them and not feel burdened by them.
Yeah.
And so, when people are like peace, I'm like, oh, homeostasis you're looking for. Do you have that in your body? And some people are like, what's that? Like, it's like, this is the language that we need to develop in the world so people understand what, health and well-being really is. And I love how you said that the compartmentalize. It's like, no, like you can't separate the mind from the liver to the heart to the nervous system. It's all functioning one, and it all needs to communicate. It's funny when I hear, mind, body, and soul, and then people are like, well, the brain is separate. It's like, the brain is part of the body. Like it's not some other entity. Like the mind, like when you say mind, unless you're like going consciousness, but even that, it's within the brain, and the brain needs to function properly for you to be able to access the mind and be able to direct it, not be dragged by it all over the place. But when I'm hearing people like separate the brain, it's like, it's all one thing. Like, did you not realize the brain is part of the body? Like it's not some separate thing that's out there. from the 4 agreements, your word is impeccable. We really don't realize our language.
Yes.
Like and what I appreciated, like from the videos that I've seen with your husband is, to cure cancer. And when you look at the definition of cure, it's hard. And people don't even realize the languages. Even I was in Barbados for the summer, and the reminder was like, it's not kids. Those are baby goats. It's children.
Yeah.
But we get so habituated with certain languages that we haven't even really looked at the definition and what we're really instilling in ourselves.
Yeah. And even in just our children, right? And the way we raise them, the language we use around health, the beliefs that we instill in them around health. Like when my son is not feeling well, we empower him. We remind him of how amazing his body is. And you really empower him to use his body to heal himself, right? Yeah. We don't say, okay, now take Advil or Tylenol and this and that. Like, support your body with a lot of fluids, good nutrition, maybe a few supplements, and watch the next day you're going to feel better.
Mm-hmm. Right. And some rest.
Yeah, exactly.
Rest is important, that we don't like rest is part of the digestion, and we want to go. And it's like, the body needs some rest to be able to regenerate.
Yeah. And, as adults, when adults don't feel well, what do? They go to work, right? When kids don't feel well, I don't want to go to school. I want to sleep, right? They want to rest. And we've been taught to just be so disconnected with our body and just outsource, take this Tylenol, go to work, right? And just not be in tune with the signals that our body is giving us, and that we need to listen to it. Right. Mm-hmm. And that it trickles down into every area of our health, right? Anytime something that happens, we're taught not to take personal responsibility, right? We've been taught by the system that you just outsource everything, right? And not take personal responsibility. Yeah. So, yeah.
Kudos on you, because I do the same with the twins. I do that with myself, because a lot of people are like, what do you mean you're not taking pain medicine? And it's like, nope, I know I've learned to trust my body, and I use my breath to ride the waves of pain. And I understand that might sound a little too much for you. However, I want to trust in the ability of my body. And I know that it's not here to harm me, even though pain sucks. Don't get me wrong. Pain sucks. Yet I know that I have the ability and the capabilities to navigate through that. What I'm really frustrated with, and this is my own personal view, so I know it might trigger some people on this podcast that might be listening. We had a narrative that, Corona is very contagious and to stay home. Mm-hmm. And yes, and I was very thankful that now finally you're allowing people to stay home and rest and not infect other people. But really the important part of rest, don't go to work exhausting yourself with that. Yet now that there's these vaccines, and now people that didn't want to get vaccinated can now return back to work, which I think that was a horrendous thing, that we traumatized a whole population and made them go into certain debts. That now the message is that if you have Corona, you can go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
And
because
we know
you have the vaccine, which
even if you don't have the vaccine, you can go to work with Corona.
Yep.
And I'm like, have we not learned anything in the 3 years? Because it is 3 years now. It's November that China started to have it. Did we not learn anything? Yet I'm really triggered by the message that you can go to work with Corona, and we understand that people have severe symptoms with it. Mm-hmm. And we're going to just normalize this again and have a really, really sick population in the workforce, and think that we're going to get better, and that there's going to be pills that are going to make everybody just, drink those energy drinks and take those pills to numb, and you can just push your way through. And it's like, what are we doing in a society? And why isn't anybody screaming at the top of their lungs like, are you insane? This is not acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like, any illness that even before Corona, right? If you have the flu or a cold, stay home.
Yeah.
Right. It's not even about you. Like, of course there is that, you got to get yourself better, but you don't want to get other people sick either. right?
Yeah.
So it's basically just teaching people just to keep go, right? And not really listen to their body once again.
And know that, people do get sick. It's okay to get sick. That's part of your immune system that's building, because viruses are always developing and viruses don't go away. They just go dormant.
Yep.
And so you want to be able to, have a robust immune system that so often it has to process some stuff and it sucks. It's uncomfortable. And a lot of times it's that we have to control our mind of not being do and just being the be of resting.
Yeah.
And allow the immune system to build and be able to adapt and evolve in whatever the world is going to be, because, climate change is a real thing. The icebergs melting, it's having an impact. These floodings that are happening, I'm concerned, and I really hope that we don't get a lot of snow this season, but we don't know. Like, we've seen where rain has been displacing so many parts of the world. So what is the snow going to do?
Yep.
And once ice is melted, there's new viruses that have been here that were dormant that are coming into the world. And so if you're always dependent on something, your immune system doesn't even know how to create its own chemistry of medicine to be able to adapt. Because that's what an immune system does. It intakes the thing and it replicates and then it adapts. So that whenever it comes again, it's not going to be impacted by it. I'm thankful that you guys are leading a way, that the voice that you have, it may be a little bit small, but it is growing, because people are starting to take responsibility, myself included, of I had to do a long, like a steep learning curve of functional medicine and really being attuned to myself and also advocating for myself. I'm going to listen to this body, because what you guys keep telling me, you're giving me medicine and then there's going to be 100 other symptoms I could get. No, thank you.
Yes.
Let me figure out what is going on internally. And thankfully for meditation, it allowed me to go deeper and really release a lot of things in my nervous system that was blocking a lot of things and how I was relating with myself. And so, thank you for championing this new way. And it's a path that hasn't been broken open. Like, there are some people in the States that have broken it open, yet pharmaceuticals are still trumping on, and the capitalism attached to pharmaceuticals is still trumping. And, there's not enough of the placebo of empowering people to trust their body, to empower their mind, empower their systems. So thank you for being the living proof and living what you are offering. So you're walking the talk, that you're actually living it and, applying what you're offering to other people in your own personal life. So thank you for that. I'm going to bring you into a reflective question.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to bring your awareness now to your 18-year-old self. And you're able to give your 18-year-old self 3 words to bring her along the journey to now. What would those 3 words be?
Those 3 words. Does it have to be like a sentence, or can it just
whatever
be like
you need?
Okay.
Whatever you need.
I would say love, compassion, and presence.
Can you explain the definitions and why you would need those 3 words?
Yeah. I mean, I think, love being the most, highest vibration emotion that we can experience, can just carry us through whatever we're experiencing in life. Compassion, just being more compassionate with myself. I think as human beings, we all have a tendency to be very judgmental with ourselves, and just really having more of that compassion towards ourselves and being more kind to ourselves. And then, right, it's just about living in the present moment. That's what we have right now, right? Not thinking so much about the future or the past. And I know as busy moms, like, our minds are everywhere. We're trying to do so many things all at once that being present can be challenging, right? And that's what our kids are here to teach us, to bring us back to the present moment. Smell the flowers, come play with me. And just living more in that present moment is where life's at.
Is there anything that you would like to leave the listeners? Did you hear that?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say just really taking that responsibility, because there's empowerment in that responsibility, right? When we know that we've created a certain outcome in our lives, whether it's a certain symptom or, disease, like when we take ownership of that, that actually is very empowering, right? It's not about blame or shame. It's about knowing that we played a part in creating that. And when we know that, then we're able to take a part in uncreating it as well, right? So I would say just really taking personal responsibility with our health, being more in tune with our bodies, and just doing the simple things, right? Like prioritizing sleep, drinking more water, right? Eating less processed foods, chewing our food more, going out for walks in nature, getting our vitamin D, right? And really just simplifying. Health doesn't have to be complicated, right? Just simplifying things. And those little simple shifts can really take us a long way.
Because what I know to be true in my own experience is to have change, you need to acknowledge. Because until you acknowledge, you're not able to step into the portal of change. Mm-hmm. How do you assist the people that come to the Institute? How do you help them to be able to acknowledge?
Yeah, so I think we're quite fortunate, because most of the clients that we see are coming to us because they have already acknowledged that.
Okay.
And and they've, most of the people that come to us are through referrals, just because they've heard great things. So they kind of already have that acknowledgement, and they're ready to kind of take that next step of personal responsibility and transformation.
Yeah, because that's the biggest thing of being willing and being able to acknowledge. And that is a big step, to have to see your part. And we're so habituated to blame outside of ourselves that if it's outside of yourself, you're not able to do anything about it, because something else has control over it. So when you can acknowledge whatever parts there are, then you, as you said so beautifully, be able to take part in undoing it, and shifting it. Where can the listeners find you?
So they can find me on social media. So my Instagram is Dipa Chauhan RPH. I'm sure you'll, maybe provide a link. You can find me on Facebook. Our website is thelivingproofinstitute.com. So a variety of different places.
They'll be all in the show notes. I want to thank you for extending your time, because that's the most valuable thing that we have, and sharing your knowledge and your experience, and the opportunity for the listeners to engage in something different that they may, I know that they will truly benefit if they inquire with you. Because if they've had a lot of frustration in the medical system, this is another way that I know there is tremendous benefit in education and knowledge that you will hand over. Thank you for showing up in the way that you do in the world, Dipa. It is greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you, Nat, for having me. I appreciate you.
Remember to be kind to yourself.
Thank you.
As you can hear, there were many technical difficulties recording this podcast. So I appreciate you and your time for making it all the way here. If you found anything of interest in this podcast, please share it out. Please help grow the community of Lift Oneself. And if you have any suggestions or questions, send us an email at liftoneself@gmail.com. Until next time, please remember to be kind with yourself.